Welcome back, I'm GTGD, and in this video I'm going to basically create some basic AI, some NPCs, well an NPC that will just basically respond to the time of day. I mean, that's the idea. That's what I just want to show, that you can very easily make NPCs that are able to navigate around on the Navmesh, and they respond to the time of day. You can make them go to different waypoints depending on the time of day. Now the first thing I'm going to do is to basically create a new pixel art for our NPC, and because I'm just going to do it very simply, I'm actually just going to duplicate my player and just give him a different color. You can go ahead and make a better looking NPC, make a unique character. I'm just going to call this one NPC, turn it on, and just fill in the color here. I'm just going to put in like a green. He's got green. He's going to be a gardener. And then I'm going to go ahead and save this file out. I'm going to just give it exactly the same name that it had. And yeah, download it as well. So don't forget to just download the image and then bring it over to Unity. So in Unity, here's my NPC image. And of course, I just need to adjust that to 64 pixels per unit. Let's put it to trilinear and just set the size to 64 and hit apply. Okay, so that's my NPC there, and why don't I just drag him into the scene as well. Try and zoom in and zoom into him basically a little bit, and just use that transform tool and just move him aside so I can see him. And that's my NPC sprite there. And I need to do a few things to it. I need to add a Navmesh agent, and I need to add a collider and a script for his behavior. And I'm going to add some UI elements. I'm going to have a tooltip text so that when you hover over him, it will bring up a text of the name of the NPC and what the current action is. So let's go ahead and add that in. So first thing is the Navmesh agent. And for this, I probably should have added the collider first, because if you do the collider first, then it makes it a little bit easier for you with the height and stuff like it. All this is predefined for you. But anyway, the collider, box collider 2D, set it to is trigger. I just want it is trigger. It's not actually going to do anything. It's only for the mouse, for hovering over it, hovering over the character. And as for the speed of this NPC, let's set it to 2. And as for his radius, let's set it down like way less than that, to half of that, 0.25. And something I should remember here is that in the sprite renderer, order in layer, set that to 3. So that way he's in front of other objects and won't appear behind details and stuff like that in our scene. Okay, so that's looking pretty good for our NPC. I do want to add a canvas to him, so that way basically I can have the tooltip text in there. So why don't we just do that? So UI, add in a canvas, and I'm going to change it to a world space canvas. You need to assign the camera. I'll just assign the camera there. Once again, order in layer, set it to 3. Otherwise the text will appear behind walls and stuff, which is not ideal, of course. And now as for the canvas size, it's going to be ridiculously large. So, but the first thing is I'll just add a text so you can actually see that. So a text mesh pro, I'm just going to call this like tool tip. And if I try clicking, you can just see it's out there far in distant space and utterly massive, which is again not ideal at all. And I guess I'll just turn it while I'm here. I'll just set it to fill the space. I probably didn't really even have to do that, to be honest. Didn't need to do any of that. Why don't I just set the size of this thing right down? And once again, even this isn't going to help so much as what I'm just about to do. So I've just set my canvas size right down. What I need to do is to set the scale in X way down to 0.05 and the scale in Y way down to 0.05, and set his X position to 0, so now he's a lot closer to the player, and set the Y position to 0. I'm going to manually move it a little bit. You can see now it's starting to make a lot more sense. Now as for the tooltip itself, let's change the font to like Minecraft, so I'll just do that. Whatever, I'll just put in here like NPC or something like that. Now the font size is way too big, So I'm thinking something like 8, maybe 8. I'm just going to center it. Looks a little bit better. Now you can see that, yeah, it needs a little bit of adjusting. So what I'm going to do is just hit my control button and just move it with the transform tool. Remember, transform tool is up here, and control just allows you to move it in nice increments. In this case, my grid is set to 0.25 increments, and I guess you can always edit it in your well, if I can even remember. I can't even remember. It was in either my project settings or somewhere there's a snap settings. Oh yeah, there it is, grid and snap settings, excuse me. So yeah, hey, it actually looks a little bit different from what I remember, but awesome anyway. So okay, so that's the NPC canvas basically set up. The tooltip is there as well. I'm just trying to remember if I'm missing anything. Anyway, if I'm missing anything at all, it will show up as I'm going to go through this video. Now let's have a look here. So our NPC is set up, so I'm going to just create a new script basically. I'm going to call this script AI behavior, so let's go ahead and make that a C# script, and AI, I'm going to just go underscore behavior. It's up to you how you want to spell that behavior, and just open it up. Alright, so now I've got it open, and I'm going to add in using Unity engine.ai and using TM Pro. Okay, and I guess the first thing I'm going to do is to create my own custom class, and I'm going to use system.serializable so I can see this in the inspector, because I'm going to make a list of this class, and by using system.serializable it is going to be visible inside of the Unity inspector. So, and the name of this is going to be public class AI behavior parameters. Okay, and let's go ahead and start plugging in our variables. So I'm going to have public string action name. Now this is what I'm going to do is you're going to be able to define in the inspector the behaviors of the AI basically. So what action he's doing, what hour to commence that action, what waypoints to move to for that action, and the delay time between the waypoints. So it looks like that the AI is stopping between the waypoints. So anyway, next variable is public float hour to commence action. Next variable is public transform, and I'm going to make it an array because these are my waypoints. Public transform array destination waypoints. Then a public float delay time between waypoints. Okay, so that's my class defined. Now I'm going to make a list based on that class. So that's of course what we need to do. So public list, and it's of the type AI behavior parameters. I'm going to call it list of behaviors, and it's going to be a new list of that type. Okay, so now I've just instantiated that. Why don't I just save this? I can go ahead and attach it to our player right now, so you can actually see it, well, to our NPC right now rather. So if I take that, drop it on here, you can see their list of behaviors, and if I just add in an entry there, for example 1, you can expand that and you can see I can now enter in an action name, etc., etc. If I did not have system.serializable there, you would not be able to see this in the inspector like that. So that's why you need to add it. Okay, and now the next thing is to define a few more variables. So while I'm at it, public game manager time, because I'm going to subscribe to that, you know, the hour event, when the time changed. So time, I'm just going to call it time script. You'll see that in just a moment. And public Navmesh agent, my Navmesh agent. It's the very agent on this NPC that we're talking about here, and I'm going to plug it in the inspector. Now I'm just going to write in here a comment to help me remember and understand that these next set of variables, so these are variables to reset whenever behavior changes. The state of these variables, and I want to save them to file as well. the state of these variables must also be saved so the AI can be reloaded successfully. So I thought it's just an important comment to keep to myself, to help me remember. So I'm putting that in there. Public string, my current action. This is one of the things that I would like to save to file, because obviously when I load the game up, the NPC will not remember what he was last doing. He'll just be wherever he is in the scene when I made the game. But obviously I want to save his position, I want to save, what is he doing, that sort of stuff. So anyway, I guess next thing is, maybe I don't even bother, actually. I probably don't even bother saving his position. Maybe I do. I'll find out soon enough in a future video. Public int, behavior index, public int next waypoint index, and private float time upon arriving at waypoint. Okay, and then the next variable here is not anything to do with that. In fact, I'll put it up here. So I'll put it up here so it doesn't get confused with that. So public, it's going to be a TMP text, and I'm going to call it NPC text. All right, and I'll just save that. So these variables will all get saved to file ultimately and be quite useful. Perhaps, I can't remember if this one will be. We'll soon see in as well. But definitely these guys need to be saved to remember what the NPC was doing when we reload the game. Now, I guess I just remembered. So I saved this file. I've saved the script, and I'm thinking, I'm just going to just plug in the NPC Navmesh agent there, and while I'm at it, I'm just going to plug in the NPC text as well. So I've just got that, and as for the time script, that's on the game manager. So let's get that in there too. Now going back to the tooltip, now I don't want that to be displaying all the time, by default. So I'm just going to disable the component, okay? So just the component, not the game object. So I'm just disabling the component. So that is now basically deactivated. But I'm going to activate it by script when you hover over this NPC. Now I've got a few methods to put in here, some default methods like the onEnable method and also the onDisable method, because that's how I'm going to subscribe to the event. But before that, I guess I need to also, I need to fix this NPC's 2D rotation so they don't just disappear when you start the game. So I guess I'll do that too. I'll just quickly do that. Let's just put it down here. Void fix rotation for 2D. It's just my name. I just made it up. And in it, I'm just going to say my Navmesh agent dot update rotation is equal to false, and also my Navmesh agent dot update up axis is equal to false, and I'm going to just call this in start. So fix rotation for 2D. Remember, we did this for the player as well. Okay, so that's one method done. Now I want to use also some other default Unity methods. On mouse enter. So this is the default method, and I'm also going to use on mouse exit. So on mouse exit. Okay, great. And so in on mouse enter, when you basically hover over it, I want that NPC text to get enabled. So NPC text.enabled is equal to true. And I also want to actually enter the text into it. So NPC text.text is going to equal the transform.name plus is busy. I'm doing something. That's just what I'm saying, is busy. Or I could even say is whatever. It doesn't have to be is busy. I'll just put in here is plus my current action, and then just a plus, and a full stop, and then end it. That's how you add string pieces together to form a sentence. I'm leaving a gap on purpose, so that way these actually show up as words. It's a proper sentence. And this just reminds me something. I'll just finish on mouse exit first. Here, npc text dot enabled is equal to false. Save that. And while I'm remembering it, I'm going to give the npc a name, because at the moment it's just npc. Or should I give him a name? It's really up to you. You can call him whatever you want to call him. I'm going to call him Mubarak the gardener, which is pretty dull actually. So anyway, so coming back, that's his profession, that's his name too, all combined into one. You can come up with something way better than me for sure. So go ahead and please do that. And I guess the next thing that I want to do is to create a new method here. And I'm just going to create some placeholders right here, right now, so I don't forget them. One of them is check if behavior should change, is what I'm going to call the method. And it's going to require me to pass in an integer, which is the hours. I'm basically going to check. I'm going to have from the time script, by subscribing to the event in the time script, I'll have the hours pass into this method, and I'm going to check if the hours have changed such that the AI should be doing something different than they currently are. So we'll get to that. There's a bit to write in there. We'll get to that. Before doing so, I'm just going to put in here, void is my next method is here, move to waypoints. And I'm going to have another method here as well called, it's very, very basic. It's just called void move to. So while I'm at it, void move to, this will actually do the moving, and I have to pass in here transform my target position. So I'm just going to put target pos, and that's it. So that will actually tell the AI where to go ultimately. And another one is a Boolean. So this one is going to be bool have I reached, so let me just get that correct, have I reached destination. And for now I'm just going to put in here return true, otherwise it's going to keep throwing an error. Return true, and I'll come back to this, and you're going to see what each one of these are going to do. As for check if behavior should change, that needs to be subscribed, or rather that needs to subscribe to the time script. So I'm going to do that just right now. Basically say that time script dot event time change plus equal check if behavior should change. I'm just going to copy that, paste it into on disable, and here unsubscribe with the minus equals, and at least that much is done. In update, I'm going to call move to waypoints. So this will be called in every update, and it will then check whether the AI needs to be basically moving to the next waypoint. So let's start filling in check if behavior should change. So I'm going to do something quite interesting here, and that is I'm going to work through a for loop backwards. So I'm going to say for int I is equal to list of behaviors dot count minus 1. So I'm going to start from the end of the list, and I'm going to say keep doing this while I is greater than or equal to 0, and we increment backwards, I minus minus. And why am I doing this? I'm doing this because, let me just save that, because when I go ahead and create all these behaviors for my AI, they're at different times. Like let's say the AI at midnight, or at midnight, he's sleeping. At 7 a.m. he's going to be doing some gardening. At 12 p.m. he's going to be taking a break. At at 2 p.m. he's going to get back to work doing something else like harvesting. And then at 7 p.m. he's going to go to bed again. So if I were to work forwards in time, if the hour is currently 10 a.m. and I start working forwards, I then have to keep comparing. I have to check whether, you have to check whether, like for example, if the hour is 10 a.m. and I'm incrementing, and obviously 10 a.m. is going to be greater than whatever the activity, the time will be obviously greater, so then midnight, so that would cause the NPC to go to sleep, unless I check as well that the time after is even greater than midnight, so it's 7 a.m. And that way by 10 a.m. that's, sorry, my explanation is rubbish there, but if you start trying to note down what I'm saying, it'll make more sense. And when you see it in action, it'll make more sense. But what I'm trying to say is that by working backwards, by saying that, if the time is right now 10 a.m. and I work backwards through the list, well, obviously it's not 7 p.m. so that I won't get applied as the current behavior. It is not 2 p.m. so the harvesting is not going to get applied as the current behavior. It's not 12 p.m. so taking a break is not going to get applied as the current behavior, but it is greater than 7 a.m. so that means gardening is going to be the current behavior. So you get the logic there. So it's very easy to do our validation, or I don't think that's the correct term, but it's very easy for us to determine what behavior the AI is supposed to be doing that way. So I'm going to say here, if hours is greater than or equal to list of behaviors I, so index I, dot hour to commence action, then, so that means, yeah, good. Well, no, if hours is greater than or equal to list of behaviors I dot hour to commence action, then in that case we have to check if the NPC is already doing that action. So yeah, we just need to just check that they aren't already doing that action. Otherwise we'll be resetting the waypoints, which makes no sense. So if my current action is equal to list of behaviors, and I see what I've got here. I've got lift of behaviors. You know what? I better correct that. So I'm going to just call this list of behaviors. Excuse me, and just change it. Replace on next. So just replace all, and good. So I just replaced a lot of them, which I had. So sorry about that. So anyway, so my current action is, if my current action is equal to list of behaviors, so I dot action name. So if it matches, then I don't want to change anything. I want the NPC to keep doing what they're doing. So I'm going to just break out of this for loop and get out of here. But if it is not the case, so if my current action is not equal to what's, if my current action is different from what is being recommended here, then basically I want to change to this latest action. So my current action is going to be equal to list of behaviors. I'm going to put in I dot action name, and that's pretty much it. And then I'm going to say next waypoint index is equal to 0. This will reset this, so that way it will be resetting the waypoint index for the new behavior set. So the new behavior has its own waypoints, but I'm just reusing the same variable here, so it makes sense to just reset it to 0. And behavior index is equal to I, and time upon arriving at waypoint is equal to 0. So just reset that and just break out of this. So we've achieved it. We don't need to go through the for loop anymore. We've achieved what we needed to achieve. So that is done. So let's save that. Now in move to waypoints, I'm going to put in here if time.time is less than time upon arriving at waypoint plus list of behaviors. I'm just going to pass in the behavior index. That's why I capture that. So pass in the behavior index dot delay time between waypoints. So if there hasn't been enough time between the AI going between waypoint 0 to waypoint 1, for example. Like if there's a delay time of 7 seconds between them and it hasn't been 7 seconds, then yeah, we don't want to move the NPC. He's going to stay where he is. So we're just going to return and just jump out of that. But if that is not the case, then I guess we might as well go ahead and I guess move the NPC. So I guess what I'm going to do here, I'm just thinking about it. So if list of behaviors, behavior index dot destination, not delay time, destination waypoints dot length is greater than 0. Okay, so if he's actually got waypoints to go to, then in that case, yeah, why don't we basically send the NPC on to the next waypoint? So we're gonna move to, we're gonna pass in list of behaviors, the behavior index dot destination waypoints, and basically call it next waypoint index. So that's basically it. It does look a little bit complex, but if you start digesting it, you start breaking it down, it's hard to explain just through words. What I'm saying here is I'm going to get the AI to move to the next waypoint inside of that behavior. That's basically it, actually. So yeah, okay, so then continue on. So I guess the next thing I need to do is I have to check if they reach their destination. Once they've reached the destination, then I want to capture that time that they arrived at the waypoint, because I want them to stay at the waypoint for at least that delay time. So it's very important to capture the time they arrive at that waypoint. So the next thing I'm going to say is if have I reached destination. So if that is true, then in that case, yeah, we want to actually capture that. So time upon arriving at waypoint is equal to time, not that, is equal to time dot time. Okay, and then the next waypoint index equal, well, I can just say plus plus. We're going to say next waypoint index is equal to next waypoint index plus 1, but that's completely unnecessary. I can just say plus plus. And I just need to check that I'm not going out of the bounds of what waypoint indices they are for that behavior. So if next waypoint index is greater than or equal to the list of behaviors, behavior index, passing that behavior index dot destination waypoints dot length, then we need to set this to 0. So then I'm going to say that next waypoint index is equal to 0. So that way I'm not exceeding the list of waypoints. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it. So I guess in move to, so now it's actually, you know, telling the Navmesh agent to do something. So in that, I'm going to say if vector2 dot distance, I want to do a calculation. So transform dot position, meaning this NPC, and the target pos dot position, so the waypoint position. That's basically the waypoint position that we're passing in here. So move to list of behaviors, so it's the waypoint position. So if that comparison is greater than my Navmesh agent dot stopping distance, then in that case, yeah, just keep moving to it. So I'm going to say my Navmesh agent dot set destination, and that is target pos dot position, and that's basically that one. And I'm just thinking about it. I think that's pretty much it for move to. It was a very simple method. And as for bool have I reached destination, I'm going to check if my Navmesh agent dot remaining distance is less than or equal to my Navmesh agent dot stopping distance, and my nav, and basically and not my navmation, rather, and not my navmesh agent dot path pending, then in that case, so I'll just bring this down to the next line just to make it easier for me to read as well. Then I'm just going to return true. It means that they've reached their destination. Else, and return false. Otherwise, that means if it's anything other than that, they haven't reached the destination. So the stopping distance, if I just save that and just quickly jump here, you can see the stopping distance on the navmesh agent component. So you can see here, there it is, stopping distance. Oh, it's actually 0 here. You can increase that, I suppose. But anyway, coming back here, so if my navmesh agent dot remaining distance is less than or equal to my navmesh agent dot stopping distance and not my navmesh agent dot path pending. So it's not calculating, it's not in the process of calculating a new path. So if it's not any of those things, that means, yeah, it definitely reached its destination. But if it is calculating a new path, it's possible it was in the process of figuring out the next waypoint. So in that case, it actually hasn't reached its destination. It's just a thing that I do. It's actually a legacy thing that I learned basically when I was making the GTGD S2 tutorial series. And I kept that same methodology there. It just seems to, I don't know, for me it just seems to work and avoid some quirks, I guess, in setting the destination for the AI. I think that actually does the script, so we'll find out if it works. So yes, let's have a look here if there's anything I can explain to try and sort of help with my not so great explanations. But let me see here if there's anything I can do to help. Perhaps when I show it in action, maybe it may make more sense. I need to make a few waypoints, so I'm just going to create an empty here. I'm going to call it waypoints, and I'm just going to zero it out. Now inside of waypoints, I'm going to make my first one. They're just empty game objects, by the way. I was going to call this one sleeping. Could have been taking a break, rest, sleeping, whatever. And I'm just going to move it over here onto the bed. Okay, next one, I'm going to make another waypoint. I'm going to call this one gardening, and I'll move this over to the flowers. Let's push it over here. Once again, I hold down my left control. I just used to it. That's what I like doing. And I'll just put it like that. That's gardening, so just going to keep moving between the two indefinitely while he's doing that action. Next one is I'm just going to call it harvesting. And I'll just move this one here to the fields, just maybe in between them. I'm going to duplicate it, move it like a bit like that, duplicate it again, move it a bit like that, duplicate another one, duplicate again, move it over there. Okay, and I'm just going to make another one. I'll just duplicate the sleeping one and just call it taking a break. And just move it to near the table. So that's a whole bunch of waypoints set up. Now we can go to our NPC, lock the inspector there, and it'll make it a bit easier for me. And I think I've got there 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to enter in 5 behaviors. So I'll start with the very first one, which is sleeping. And I'm going to say that the hour to commence action is 0. I'm going to keep that there just in case it's midnight and when the game starts or something like that. And there's only one destination waypoint, so I'm just going to drag it in there. Nice and easy. There's no delay time between waypoints. There's only one waypoint, so I don't need to worry about that. Next one is gardening. And hour to commence action, I want to do it at 7 a.m. And destination waypoints, I'm going to grab my gardening waypoints and just drag it on. That's done. I'm going to put a delay time of like 7 seconds between them. And the next action I'm going to have is taking a break. And the hour to commence that action is at 12 o'clock. And there's only one waypoint, so I'll just drop that in. There's no delay time for that reason. And next one is harvesting. So he's going to do some harvesting, and that's at 14, which is 2 o'clock. And let's just drop in all of these waypoints there. Okay, that's done. I'm going to put in like a delay time of 8 seconds between them. So yeah, that's good. They're all going in there. And the final one is going to be sleeping again. And the hour to commence that action, let's say for example, is 19. That's very early, I suppose. Then drop that in, especially if you're doing like programming, you're used to staying up pretty late to find that quiet time to do it and so on. I prefer morning time personally. Try to do the most in the early morning, but sometimes, you you just get really interested and you can't stop. Anyway, sorry, a bit of a going off topic there. So continuing on, there's no need for a delay time for that. I do think our NPC is pretty much set up. So let's go ahead and try it, see if we get any errors. Let me just check the time of day as well inside of this. I'll just unlock the inspector. So it's 300 minutes. Sometime is that in the morning? I think it is. Yeah, 5 a.m. So let's just jump in there. Okay, so what's he doing? It says that he's supposed to be sleeping, so he's actually moving to his waypoint. And there you go, he's now sleeping. We can accelerate our time a bit, so let's say 4:30, and it's now, well, he's gardening actually. I can just go there, and sorry, it is a bit small. If I maximize that, you can see the tooltips text is there. So Mubarak the gardener is gardening. Wow, that's amazing. So anyway, so he's moving to his next waypoint, and after whatever number of seconds, he's then going to basically move over. And just to make his life difficult, I decided to put a wall there because, just the thing to do, right? Yeah, make people's life hard for no reason. That's silly. Okay, anyway, sorry about that. Okay, so then he's doing that, and yeah, poor guy. So made his job harder for no reason at all. And then let's put that to like 700. It's nearly midday. He's going to take a break soon. Yeah, I'm probably going to end up messing up if I try and enter that manually. So I'm just going to maximize it, and you'll see that he'll start to take a break soon. So let's see that happen. Okay, yeah, he's going to go take a break. He's going to go over to the tables. And yeah, there you go. He's taking a break now. He's going to do that for 2 hours. I wish my lunch break that was that long. But anyway, so coming back here. So we can also see what his current action is. We can see it's taking a break. It's behavior index number 2. So if we see here 0, 1, 2, that is behavior index 2, taking a break. So we can save that to file. And next waypoint index 0, I mean, there aren't any waypoints, and there's just one waypoint in there. So that's all good too. Why don't we accelerate time yet again so we get to see more happen here. So let's move it to like 860, something like that. Excuse me, it went too far. And now he's going to be harvesting. So you can see that if I click on him, his current action is harvesting, which is great. And we'll see his next waypoint index, I guess, change. There we go. It moved to 2, which is great. And he's on behavior index 3. So every 8 seconds, he's going to just keep on moving there. So that is fantastic. So we can see it's working. If I set the time way more forwards into the future, like say it's 1000. Oh yeah, that's not enough. Sorry, 1200. Is that enough? Yeah, that's enough. So now he's going to be sleeping. So there you go, it's nighttime and he's gone to sleep. And if you click on him, you can see that his current action is sleeping. Behavior index 0. So fantastic. So that was our NPC AI done. You got to see how to actually subscribe to that event and make use of that time that's coming through the event. So basically that's how you can, in a very simple way, get your NPCs to respond to the time of day. So I'm hoping to make use of that in a game that I'm working on to make the world a bit more interesting. NPCs are doing different activities during the day. So it's pretty interesting. It's pretty fun. I thought it was an interesting bit of content to cover. A bit different is, I mean, it wasn't exactly, tile placement and all that, but I thought it was just really interesting to cover it anyway, and just see it in action. All right, so that is it for this video. So I guess I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.